The Epstein thing, I got a lot to talk. This Epstein thing really it's like a tick burrowing under my skin. I get a call.
Let's go.
Yeah, this is going to get hairy. You guys ready?
Yes.
No more school.
Yes.
This is like live YouTube. You ready for this? I don't know if you guys are ready. I get a call, I don't know, about 4 years ago. It's from, let's say, a friend. Prior line of work thing, right? Guy says, listen. And this guy who calls me is an unimpeachable source. This guy's not like some ham and egg or tomato can guy throwing out some theory about a UFO he saw 72 years ago, whatever. This is like a legit, no-nonsense guy. Guy you trust with your wife, kid, and car, right? He says, I got sent on a temporary assignment once. And on that assignment, I got sent out on the WCD detail, William Clinton detail. And I knew this guy well. And he says, Dan, I got to share this with someone. He said, I go on a plane and Bill, Clinton gets on the plane with this guy, and it turns out later the guy's Epstein. Now, this guy I'm talking to, this source, he don't know who Jeffrey Epstein is. He's just getting on the plane doing the thing, the whole, protection gig, right? He says, I get on the plane, and there's these girls who are obviously not of age who are on this plane. They're clearly young. These are not women. These are girls. And he says, I see Clinton disappear into the back he goes, I don't know what happened. I'm not saying what happened because all I know is he disappeared and these girls were back there or whatever. And he said they land at the next stop, wherever it was. And he goes up to the boss on the detail and he says, I ain't getting back on this plane. Because he's a temp. He's not used to whatever Clinton was up to with the whole shenanigans thing. And this guy's clear as the driven snowman. He don't want to mess around with this. He says, whatever just happened back there, I don't want any piece of it. They sent him home. They sent that guy home and he was never tempted to that detail again. Now, remember all those Blackberries on that detail. Here's where the story gets super weird. The guy tells me, months or a couple weeks later, when you lose property in the Secret Service, an email goes out. It'll say hey, I lost his phone. And it gets logged into NCIC or whatever it is. And everybody knows. So basically, if you find this guy's gun, God forbid, or his phone, it's now effectively stolen property, right? All of a sudden, all the Blackberries on that detail for the agents start showing up oh, this guy lost his Blackberry. Holy shit. Wow, that's so crazy. How'd that happen? I'm like, no. He says, yes. He says it was the craziest thing. Oh, look, Agent Joey Bag of Donuts, missing Blackberry. This is around the whole time, the Clinton thing's going on. So fast forward this story, right? He tells me that. About a year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share it, but the short story, but not who they are. Says, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is I'm absolutely sure of that he's either a witting or unwitting intelligence asset, meaning his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know. But this person, who's a very, very good reporter, aces, right? Swore Epstein was either a witting or unwitting intelligence asset, and they may have had his plane wired up, and they're the ones who have all this stuff. So the point is, to sum it up, how do you know some of these countries aren't going to some of these power players who aren't making decisions? Because, hey, you wouldn't want this video out there, right? How do you know?
100%.
Let's get personal with Mr. Gates, though. If this is a story of an adult man having adult relations with an adult female outside of his marriage, is it the biggest deal in the world that needs to be made public? You know what I mean? What I'm interested in is the underage stuff, the creepos, that evidence coming out. I'm worried that they're doing this with the Bill Gates thing as red meat, oh, look, oh, yeah. And it's not a criminal issue. It's a personal scandal. It's oh, wow, Bill Gates looks bad. But what about the Maxwell stuff? What about the actual client list? I don't think we should be satisfied by what we're hearing, and we should obviously want more.
I think you're totally right. I think that the actual crimes that they committed while they are bad, like, I don't think that's the worst thing that's going on. I think the things that they're being blackmailed to cover up is probably worse than the crimes that they committed.
Well,
as bad as they are, you know?